Hi, this is Dennis with Second Chance Tackle, and I'm back again. I'm going to do another one of my found at the curb in the trash projects. This one was one of 3 reels that a fellow brought into me that was found at the curb. And it was mounted to a couple of broken poles, but from what I can tell, the reel is working fine. This is a Quantum. It's an SS1 snapshot. It's an ultralight reel, and it's just been sitting somewhere for a long time, and then somebody just decided it was time to throw it away. Well, at Second Chance Tackle, we like to give them a second chance as opposed to having it wind up in the dump. So I'm working with this fellow to make some videos on how to do that in exchange for the opportunity to have his reels fixed. So there you go. This is a ultralight reel. It has a snapshot bail. And when you're testing a reel, you want to make sure that that bail is going to close, and this one does. You also want to test the reel for an anti-reverse. This should always come back to the resting location so that you can trip your bail. And we're going to take this apart. We're going to clean it. We'll show you how the reel is made, how to service it, and how to give it a second chance. I'm going to do that by starting out by taking off the exterior pieces. And as I do, I'm going to thank our first responders and essential personnel and everybody involved in keeping us safe during this pandemic. All uniformed services, all fire, police, rescue, EMT, first aid, and all of the affiliated services, all of the medical folks in hospitals, doctors' offices, long-term care facilities, acute care. All of the folks that are involved in day-to-day ensuring that we have what we need in order to get through this. Thank you. Thank you for putting your lives on hold. Thank you for putting your lives on the line, and appreciate everything you're doing to restore those that have the virus to health and to help us all stay safe and not get the virus as well. All right, well, this is just a lot of dirt and grease, as you can tell. I use a penetrating oil to clean up a lot of the old grease, and it's going to work there. This has got a side plate held on by some screws that tucks under the rotor, so you need to take the rotor off in order to remove the side plate. So to do that, you want to take the spool shim and the click rotor off. They can usually just pull straight up like I did there. And then you want to take the set screw that's holding your rotor nut in. And then you want to take the rotor nut itself off. This is a 10 millimeter. I'm going to check to see if it comes off in the traditional manner. It seems to be doing just that. And we're going to need to do a lot of cleaning on this. So sometimes people think of these reels as disposable reels. They're not that expensive to start with. They're usually around $20 or so. And a lot of people think of these as disposable. Well, I never think of a reel as disposable. I always think that there's another place for that reel after you're done with it. And even if it becomes something of a parts reel, because parts are generally not available for job lot reels, well, then I like to do anything I can to make sure that it keeps on going. So this one has got a lot of accumulated dirt. My guess is that at one point this was probably a go-to freshwater reel for somebody. I suspect that somebody stopped fishing and didn't have someone to pass it along to. This probably got tucked in the back of a garage or a shed, maybe an outdoor shed possibly. I'm trying to think where you would get this kind of dust. I would say a rafter in a basement or an attic or something, but this is kind of, the grease is leaked out, and it's become very dusty as a result. So I don't, not sure what it could have been. It's only mine to speculate, I guess, but in the interim, all the pieces are here. That makes it functioning. We'll see how we do with this quick set. That quick set is stuck. Well, there's some dirt behind that I'm noticing. There's all kinds of dirt and grease and junk and debris in here. Let's see if we can't clean that up a little bit. I'm not sure it's important to use that Quickfire. A lot of people don't, even though they buy the reel. It's a spinning reels version of a kind of a Zebco. You fire this on the cast, and you don't have to touch the line. Now that's loosening up. There we go. Just like that. A little bit of effort, a little bit of cleaning, and you've got a Quickfire restored. So I don't even have to go to my next thought, which was just flip it manually, which a lot of people do. All right, same thing here. That's an awful lot of grease and gunk. And I use a penetrating oil as a degreaser. It just seems to work well. There's grease there. There's a underlying dirt. Put them together, you get gum and goo. And if you can use a degreaser, that generally will clean it up. Sometimes, if you like, I'm using a paper towel in this WD-40 penetrating oil. Use a kitchen scrubby. It's probably just enough abrasive to knock off the hardcore grease there. It's sort of like you were doing pots and pans. All right, so case cleaned up nicely. The case cleaned up nicely. We know the reel works, but the next thought is that this reel is just going to be dry because we saw all the grease and dirt and junk and grime inside out. It was sticking. So let's go ahead and take the 3 screws that hold the side apart. I think we're going to have to remove the handle as well. So let's check. This is probably a handle screw. It is. So you would want to do that prior to trying to take the case off. It won't come off that way. And when I remove that handle screw, I like to put the screw right back into the shaft just so I don't lose it. And again, like everything else, this hasn't seen much lubrication, so go ahead and put a squirt in there and work that through as well. But I take all the pieces and parts that I take off, I put them into a parts tray. That helps me keep track of them. There's a lot of organization systems out there that folks like. Some like to lay them on a clean white towel in front of them. Some like to serialize them in terms of the sequence that they took them off. They lay them out in that manner. Well, this kind of works for me. And one of the things that works for me as well is what I'm doing here. I'm taking pictures of the disassembly of the reel. I'm doing it in the video here. But pictures help too, so if you get lost along the way, if you don't want to trust your memory, then take the pictures. And it doesn't have to be the video. You can use the still camera. I think some of the best still camera pictures out there are from Alan Tanney, who has quite a few of the reels that he works on. And all they are is a photo essay at critical points in the repair, and it just gives you enough to remind you the orientation of the pieces and parts and the sequence that they came out in. Okay, we have a bushing on this side. We have a main gear. Kind of have a traditional setup inside here. So we have a main gear, we have a crosswind block, we have an oscillation gear. I don't think the main gear can come out. Nope. Sometimes that main gear you can slide out. In this case, that wasn't true. We're going to remove the hold down screw in the crosswind block. Sometimes it's called an oscillation block. Either one will work. We're going to remove the axle shaft now by pulling up and out on that crosswind block. And if you like, just what we did with that handle, do it with the crosswind block. Put the screw right back into the axle shaft so you don't lose it there. And you don't have to worry about mixing them with other screws. Like there's going to be some screws here we will take out. Here's your main gear. We're going to take that out next. Notice on the back here, there's a little forked plastic piece. Anytime you see a hole in the main gear, it usually tells you that that's a sight window for aligning a anti-reverse gear. This one has a ball bearing on this side. I'll take that off. And you can see the plastic piece here, which has got a notch in it. That notch is for the anti-reverse, which has the corresponding point And that point is going to land between the two wings of the notch to make that anti-reverse work. I'm going to pull out those two. And as I suspected, these are all very dry. The only grease that we saw in this one happened to be on the shaft that kind of got lodged there from the concentric forks, I guess is what it would be called. And then one more piece, and I'm leaving these on my table. We're going to clean these up. We're going to put them right back in. But I want to remove the pinion gear and the bearing associated with it. So this looks like a 2-ball bearing reel. There might be a ball bearing in that line roller. I didn't read the... Well, it says 3 ball bearings. So there's probably one in the line roller because the other one was a bushing. All right, just a little bit more cleanup now of the case. Just noticing there's a little bit on the override here. And the rest of the case is clean. So we can just do what the basics are of fishing reel repair. I'm going to oil these 2 bearings. Let the oil work itself in. I'm going to clean up the main pinion gear. There's a little bit of grease caught in the grooves, so I'm just going to use a brush to pull that out. And I brush it onto my paper towel so that it doesn't transfer. Then we're going to apply fresh grease. So I'm going to use Penn Precision Reel grease for this. And I have no doubt that this is going to be a nice reel. In the ultralight category, if you get 2 ball bearings, in this case 3, one's probably the line guide, but if you get 2 ball bearings, that's plenty. I mean, you're not working with fish that are that heavy. You are looking for a smooth reel because you're going to be making a lot of casts, but you don't need a lot of ball bearings. As a matter of fact, one of the early ones, the Mitchell 300s, have no ball bearings, so those things lasted forever, so you don't need to concern yourself with the latest reel. It's got 13 or 14 ball bearings in it. It's kind of the law of diminishing returns after a while. But if you do go for a reel, you should have a reel that has a minimum, I like to say a minimum of 3 ball bearings. I definitely want one on the pinion gear, which is the one that we're reinstalling right now. And I generally like one on each side of the main gear. In this case, the reel does not have one on each side. It has 2. One on the drive side, where they would expect you to have the drive side. Most of the time it would be on that right-hand wall there. And the other is probably in the, as I mentioned, the line roller, but I would like to see one on each side of the gear as opposed to that roller. All right, there was a shim washer that comes on the back end of this with that bearing. I'm just going to check the case. It may be in the case there. I see that there's a the shim washer. Yep, it is. Okay, well, good. This is exactly where I would want those bearings to be. So I will oil this one up as well. And I oil bearings. I don't grease them. I don't like the grease. After a while, it tends to harden, and then it bogs down everything. So I would prefer to put oil on that. This is your crosswind block. You check the teeth to make sure all of the teeth are there, that they're not chipped, broken, cracked, or otherwise. And then you load it up on everything with the grease. The face is going to be where the crosswind or oscillating gear is going to ride. This is going to be driven from the gear in the back of the main gear, and this is going to slide on the back of the case. So you want to get grease on all of that. When you install that block, make sure that you bring the stud to the bottom so that it's easy to load this, the crosswind gear or block. Crosswind or oscillation block, either one of them is fair. Turn that around and then you can put that in next. And then I mentioned this is a sighting kind of a thing. You want to leave that window open. You want to get grease around the teeth of the gear, both teeth. The one in the front, which is going to drive the pinion gear, the one in the back, which is going to drive the oscillation gear. Find that notch. Bring the notch over so that you can see it through the window. And an easy way to do that is just kind of line it up with a pick. And most of the time you don't need to look through the window, but it doesn't hurt either. So let's see. If you back your override off, That's going to give you an easier view at the point. Now you're going to merge the two. Sighting it over the top if you can, verifying that you have it done. By looking through that window. Okay, next up then what we want to do is we want to come back up top and install the rotor. Oh, not so fast. We want to install the axle shaft first. The axle shaft has a D component to it. I guess it looks like the letter D this way. There's a flat side and then a semicircle round. Put a little bit of grease onto the axle shaft. Don't put a lot. Slide it through the pinion gear here. Bring it down. Insert it into the crosswind block. Line up your flat sides. And then line the hole up on the bottom where that screw that we just took out goes. So if you like the art of reel repair like this, I would encourage you to subscribe to my channel, and if you do subscribe, please hit the notification button. That way you'll see all the reels that I'm working on, and you'll be able to determine which ones you want to review. I work on all kinds of reels. This happens to be a lower priced spinning reel, but I certainly work on all of the big reels and all of the round bait casters and everything in between. All right, right now we're not set right. There we go. Now we're set. I'm just checking now to make sure that we have the stop. Okay. Side plate on. Grab our side plate screws. And if you have any questions on this reel or any reel in particular, or maybe you're working on one and you're stuck with some aspect of it, well, if you leave the questions in the comments section, I'll try to answer them for you. Sometimes folks are looking for reel recommendations. Well, I've worked on a lot of reels. I can tell you what the strengths or weaknesses are one of the ones you may be considering. Sometimes folks are working on a reel and it just gets stuck. Maybe they didn't take the pictures along the way. Maybe they can't find the schematic for the reel. Maybe you need a part. If you leave those questions in that comment section, I'll try my best to get you that answer. This has a through slot. It also has the T on it, so you can use either a Phillips head or a flat-bladed screwdriver, and I noticed that the flat-bladed screwdriver seems to have a better grip on this, so that's why I'm using this one as I install those 3 side plate screws. Okay, so one of the things you want to make sure of now is that the anti-reverse is on. You want to back it so that you can align the rotor properly. So the rotor needs this arm to the back side here. So make sure you're locking into anti-reverse, which is there, and then line up your rotor with the flat sides as that's sitting, just like that. It's real easy to put this on backwards simply by turning the rotor around. You got a 50-50 chance of hitting it right, but if you set that to an anti-reverse, you'll get the quick flip in the proper position. Let's go ahead and put the rotor nut on now. This is going to make a nice little reel for freshwater. It's probably holds 4, 6, and 8 pound test. It might be 2, 4, and 6. I didn't notice on the spool when I was taking it off. But regardless, it's a nice light or ultralight reel, and I think it'll do well. Once you put that nut on, If you're staring into your case, you should find a tie-down screw that's going to hold that nut in place. Either hole is fine. They give you that because there'll be a flat side. Sometimes you won't land on the flat side quite right. Well, the other one will land you there. Then we have the click ratchet and the spool shim. This click ratchet's going to make the noise when your spool is backpedaling. There's a little click tongue in here that'll make that noise by hitting that ratchet right here. And the spool shim controls the line height on your spool. So if you find that your line height is gathering high, that is, it looks like a cone, all the lines up here, nothing down here, you need to pull that shim out. If you find that it's all on the bottom and nothing getting to the top, then you need to add a shim. Okay, well, probably should show you the drag stack inside just because we are tuning this up. I'm just kind of happy that everything is right inside and that we'll be able to take this one back. But let's go ahead and do the drag stack. I expect to see felt washers or Teflon washers inside here, and what I'm seeing is Teflon washers. So Teflon washers don't need any work on them. They are by nature a petrochemical product, so they're not going anywhere. You don't have to oil them, and that's probably a good choice from a manufacturer like this on a lower end reel where people probably are not going to go to service these. So it'll be completely functional. There's nothing wrong with those. And you just want to clean the cavity to get rid of the dirt. So we have the first of the flat washers, and you're going to see we have 3 of these Teflon washers. We have 3 metal washers. You start with the Teflon one. You'll notice we have 2 round ones and an eared one. So a round one goes on each side, and the eared washer, this one, goes in the middle. The round washers are called keyed washers for those that want to use the proper vocabulary. For some reason I'm just a little bit stuck getting that one into the channel. So let's take it out and start again. Okay, and the last of the Teflon washers, the last of the keyed washers, and then this little clip rides in a channel inside the spool. So hold the one side down, rotate it around, make sure that it's seated in the channel itself. It's a retention ring. There's nothing that this is going to do other than hold those washers in place. All right, that can go back on now. Still have a dirty top. I don't know how I missed cleaning that, but we didn't clean it, so let's take a moment to do that. And while I take that moment, if you have a reel that needs to be serviced and you're not up for doing it yourself and you would like me to service it, please contact me by email on the business card that follows, and I'll be happy to provide you with that reel repair information. I'm going to tighten this down, make sure that those drags that we just took off hold, and they do. This is a lot of drag for a smaller reel. And I see as I'm unwinding this screw from the handle, there is some information on the drag strength. So this holds, oh, we can go up to 12-pound test here. No, we can't. I'm sorry. It's 2 and 4. 246. Okay, 246, about 100 yards. All right, handle back in, handle screw on. We'll give it a test. We'll see how we do. So this one's got a second chance. So it went from ugly duckling sitting at the curb on a broken fishing rod to ready to go fishing again. That's kind of what the fun of these reels are. Okay, a little bit of extra grease on there. Nice reel. Think of this one. You have 3 ball bearings. This one doesn't want to compete too well. 3 ball bearings, snapshot format. This is hard for me anyway. I don't like this. It's just not grabbing quite right, and it's not worth rebuilding. Yeah. My advice to the owner is going to be do what everybody does, flip it by hand. Don't use the quick shot feature. I've actually seen people remove this piece just so that you can only flip it by hand. But this one's just, there's tension there and there's no sense breaking it. So that's the Quantum. It's a quick shot SS1. It's a 468 pound or 246 pound monofilament line. This one's a nice reel. 3 ball bearings, lots of max drag, and a second chance. So I hope you've enjoyed that. If you did, please like it. If you want to see more, again, please subscribe. If you're a first responder, again, thank you for everything it is that you do. And finally, please stay safe, stay well, and stay watching. This is Dennis with Second Chance Tackle. Have a great day.